It's time I finally confess something. I've been in a toxic relationship for the past 3 years. Some days she's everything I hoped for, yet sometimes she just wants to make me pull out my hair and it's almost as if I need to constantly tell myself to ignore these blaring red flags in order to continue loving her. I mean, I have to, she just has too much power over me. And oh, her name? It's my cat. No, I'm just kidding. It's the iPhone 15 Pro Max, of course. On paper, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the perfect phone. Every aspect of the hardware is simply stunning, from the usual specs to all the new Apple things they've added through the years. I mean, just try picking up this phone and you'll immediately see what I'm talking about. The first thing you'll notice is how light it is. At 221 grams, they managed to shave off almost 10% of the weight compared to the previous generation, thanks to the use of titanium in the edges, and I haven't noticed any issues using this phone one-handedly, where my pinky finger would usually get sore after a while. Speaking of, the edges of the titanium rails are also polished now, so it isn't so sharp, but isn't round either. The frosted glass back on the phone is also both fingerprint resistant and just gorgeous to look at and touch and admire. Not to mention, the natural titanium color I have here is just so beautiful, classy, and I sometimes just take off my equally beautiful Taurus case, more on that later, to admire this engineering model, before turning it around and seeing the equally elegant display with thin and more importantly symmetrical bezels. But my eyes really sparkle when this screen turns on because holy cowza, does this look good. What they do with their Super Retina XDR Pro Motion display simply makes it a joy to use. It's so sharp, so smooth, so bright, even being clearly visible under the direct sun. It's also color accurate right out of the box, and I trust it completely, using it for anything from entertainment to content creation. Not to mention, the dynamic island actually lived up to its promises of being much more than a useful hole punch camera. Although it was a pretty big pill to swallow at first, no pun intended, you'll begin to appreciate it as soon as you load up a song in the background or a timer, an Uber Eats delivery, Instagram post, or any other apps that take advantage of this little buddy, and you'll get hooked immediately. If that's not enough, you can even stack simultaneous ongoing activities together like a multivitamin, just like the new action button, which replaced the old ring and silent switch. After a little bit of finicking with, you can just leave it for emergency cases where you quickly need to do something with your phone and boom, it'll take you there with just a click and a hold. Personally, I set mine to be a ring and mute switch while the phone is in the vertical orientation, but when I turn it clockwise and click it, boom, I'm in photo mode, or turn it counterclockwise and boom, video mode. Honestly, this is a pretty sweet touch by Apple and has definitely saved me a pinch sometimes when I desperately need to capture some embarrassing moment of my friends, and the best part is, it's not even in your face most of the time. Just a powerful little button tucked away at the top. But perhaps my favorite hidden away feature on the iPhone has to be MagSafe. I cannot stress how many times I've been grateful for it when I snapped on a tripod attachment, wallet, or a power bank, especially one as thin as the Taurus Ultimate Slim Mini Mag Power Bank. Even though this segment is sponsored by Taurus, I have to give them kudos simply for how well their products are designed. Like, this tiny little card-sized power bank isn't even as thick as the wallet in your pocket, yet it holds almost enough for a full charge on any iPhone, and is honestly something I just slip in my bag and forget about throughout the day, or even keep attached to my phone because of how unobtrusive it is. The best part is, they even claimed it to be super reliable, being able to maintain its battery health for at least 3 years and sustain over 500 recharges. Just think about it. A power bank this thin, this light, and this reliable, it's almost too good to be true. But if you thought that was impressive, you'd be amazed by their cases. Taurus pioneered the magnetic ring phone case, and this has a super well-built metal ring attached to the case to both help you hold the phone while also replacing any sort of phone stand for scenarios like watching TV shows during your lunch break, following workout videos in the gym, or even using it to prop the phone up to shoot videos. Not to mention, the ring itself is so fun to play with since the rotation is super smooth while having 90-degree hard stops, and just listen to the snap. Isn't that so satisfying? Best of all, it's basically completely unnoticeable when you don't need it, seeing how flat it lies on the back of the case. I mean, it doesn't even wobble on the table, and no, the case itself, it's one of the best cases I've used to date. The materials feel incredibly premium, with a smooth frosted back and raised edge protection at each corner, while still being very thin and keeping the beautiful aesthetics of the iPhone. I'm usually not one to like black phone cases, but this one really complements the iPhone color really well, and I'm so glad I gave it a chance. Definitely check out both the case and the power bank in the description below, and thank you so much Taurus for sponsoring this video. Just like with the case though, one of the best parts about having an iPhone is the extensive ecosystem, both by third-party companies and by Apple themselves. And boy, the ecosystem Apple has built around their phones is genuinely impressive. I mean, if you have any other Apple devices or friends of iPhones, then AirDrop is obviously on the top of the list for reasons to buy the iPhone. Just the convenience alone of being able to send anything with a tap, and not to mention speedy transfer speeds as Apple continues to improve it every year. It's actually pretty funny though, now that Apple has added the touching head features with the latest iOS update. It makes Android users feel more left out than ever, especially among younger people too. The same thing goes with AirPods, which just works so well with the iPhone and other Apple devices, especially after the new software updates that improve the device switching feature. Personally, it has become completely seamless for me to switch between Apple devices, and I hate to say it, but it really does feel like the Apple magic that everyone talks about. But personally, my favorite feature has to be the shared clipboard between devices. Just look at this. Let's say I see this link that I need to open on my laptop. I just click copy on my phone and paste on my Mac, and boom, it's there. It also works with photos and everything, and it's just something that I honestly use every single day. This one feature has kept me stuck to an iPhone every time I consider switching to an Android because it just saved me so much time over the past few years. On top of this, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this as well, iMessage and FaceTime with friends and family have basically completely locked me into the Apple ecosystem, but that shouldn't be the case for much longer. With RCS chat finally becoming standard across Android and iOS soon, maybe I can finally join the green bubble gang again someday. The softer side has always been a bit of a turnoff for me though, but I have to say, they really got the focus mode right. The level of customization for what the phone does in each mode is ironically pretty Android-like, as it can block notifications out of certain apps in different modes, and you can even set it to have different home and lock screens. For example, I set it up to only allow messages from certain apps in my personal mode, which I use anytime I need to get some work done or just want to take a break from getting bombarded by random notifications all the time, especially as a content creator. I often choose to toggle it just for an hour to get a quick break from my phone, but also the great thing is I can also set to toggle it back on when I leave my house or a coffee shop, for example, after my work session. The most important part is that it's so easily accessible with just one swipe from the control center, and just so intuitive to find and set up for most people. But perhaps the most convenient aspect of this year's iPhone is finally using a USB-C port for charging instead of their infuriating lightning ports. Now we can finally live happily ever after, being able to just carry one charging cable for every single device and never have to worry about bringing the wrong cable ever again. Same with all accessories. Now we can connect USB-C SSDs and flash drives to the iPhones, use the same wired USB-C earbuds for iPhone and the Mac, or even connect it to a monitor or something like AR glasses, which is super cool. It's almost as if this was the correct idea all along, right, Apple? And as always, the rest of the hardware on the iPhone is top notch. The speakers never fail to surprise me with how punchy they can get in a package this small. They're hands down the best speakers you can find on any phone on the market, as they get incredibly loud while maintaining a full-bodied sound without any distortion, and they even have a good amount of bass as well. The same thing goes with the haptics, which are so firm you'd think the phone was alive. And if you ever used an iPhone in the past 6 years, then you know how good Face ID is as well. Though I sometimes miss having a fingerprint sensor, Apple definitely develops the best implementation of facial recognition, being super reliable and consistent that even works in a pitch black environment thanks to the IR sensor. But if there's a saving grace with the hardware on the iPhone, then it is definitely the cameras. I mean, when you take a photo with the iPhone, you just know what you're gonna get. Natural colors, pleasing tones, consistent looks between the lenses, and a nice sharp image in the end. There's no lag, no problems, just an enjoyable experience every time. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I generally prefer the 5x zoom on the Pro Max over the regular 3x zoom on the previous phones. Portraits out of this lens just look so flattering with the background looking so smooth, even if you'll have to stand like a parking lot away from the person to get the shot. Plus, this has saved me so many times as a magnifying glass when I couldn't see a sign from afar or the notes on my lecture hall board. And when it's an especially important moment, it's so nice to have the option to capture profile files to edit later on. When I was playing around with these, I was really impressed with the amount of detail and the information in the files to maneuver with while editing. The reliability of getting good results too is especially true with video. iPhones have always been known to shoot the best videos out of any phone, and that's honestly one of the main reasons why I have an iPhone in my pocket at all times. The peace of mind knowing that I can always grab usable footage with the iPhone when my camera's not around has saved me so many times already, and there are just so many powerful third-party tools that take advantage of the camera's capability, like my favorite Kino that lets you have manual control and shoot ungraded log footage. And that's great, right? Sounds like the iPhone is the perfect phone and everyone should get it. Well, that's not the full story, because even though they have got many of these nice to have features correct, they seem to have forgotten the core qualities of a smartphone. If you had to list out the 3 most fundamental things that any modern phone should have, what would it be? And I'm talking about really basic things like being able to last a full day, running smoothly, and having stable connectivity, yet somehow my iPhone 15 Pro Max managed to struggle with all of these. I'm not sure if I got a faulty device, so definitely let me know your experiences with this phone in the comments, but this phone has literally left me infuriated on a daily basis, if it can even last through the day, that is. I'm using a 5G network, so it does drain the battery a little quicker, but the battery life has always been a problem. Even when I just leave the phone in my pocket untouched for a couple of hours, I'll often come back to it with like 20% of battery drained in standby. It's so bad that I'm not confident that the phone can come back alive unless I leave the house without a MagSafe power bank just like the one from Taurus. This has kind of been the only option since, in classic Apple fashion, the charging is so slow compared to other phones, so I can't top it up quickly before I leave either. But none of that really matters if the iPhone can't do what the phone was meant to do: make calls and connect to the internet. This phone has hands down one of the worst experiences I've had in terms of connectivity, both indoors and outdoors. At home, the iPhone is the only device that has problems connecting to my Wi-Fi, often disconnecting or being super slow despite the network speeds itself being fast, just like my iPhone 14 Pro Max and 13 and 12 as well. It's so bad that I sometimes need to switch to using whatever Android review unit I have on hand to have a more stable connection to send a text or search something up. But oh boy, when the phone is outside, it gets so bad sometimes. I'm on a 5G network, so the signal is already weaker in stores or in busy areas, but sometimes, even when I stand out in the open, the phone only shows 1 bar of signal. It's not even a carrier problem either, since the problem has always been here despite switching between 3 carriers in the past few years of using iPhones, and there are just so many people who face the same issue online as well. Worst of all, the amount of times this phone has just froze or black screen on me is actually crazy. Even when it's outdoors, the phone overheats so easily in the blaring Canadian sun, so much so that the display gets so dim that it's basically unusable. And it's so frustrating because iOS used to be stable a few years ago, and it's like the past 2 years of iOS updates have affected the stability and battery life much more than it should have without even introducing many features. I know this year's iOS 18 update is supposed to be a huge step forward in terms of software, but as an Android person at heart, I still miss the amount of customization and freeing feeling knowing the phone can be whatever you want it to be. In the end, I kinda embraced this strict Apple layout though, and left it simple without needing to worry about changing anything. But something I can't accept is how messy the notifications are. Each notification banner takes a huge amount of space, and when I turn off focus mode, I'm often bombarded by a whole landslide of unorganized notifications from my apps, which just makes my head hurt. I thought like this. I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna die. Okay. But the good news is, a lot of these are set to be fixed in the upcoming update, and I guess it's time for me to say what I want to see from the iPhones in the future. I'm kind of stuck using iPhones as a creator, mainly because of how much better social media apps work on iOS, so in true toxic relationship fashion, I can only pray that the iPhone will eventually change into what I hope it to be. And I guess the first thing on the list is for this phone to actually last me through the day. I know iPhones are capable of this since the 13 Pro actually had incredible battery life, so as soon as they fix the software optimization side of it, it should be much better, or at least give us faster charging. Apple has always been so stubborn with increasing charging speeds because of battery longevity and blah blah blah, but so many other competitor companies, especially from China, have introduced technologies for super fast charging speeds for years now, and it's time for Apple to play catch up. Plus, my iPhone is already at 88% total capacity right now after 394 charging cycles, so clearly that hasn't worked for them either. And of course, iPhone cameras will keep getting better and better, and I hope they'll give bigger sensors and better features for video. It's so fun filming videos with the ultralight, so if they can improve that, it would be a godsend as well. I can't wait to see what they release this year and also try out the Apple Intelligence features in the next update too, and I'll definitely be making a video on the 16 when it gets released, so make sure to subscribe for those videos coming up. But for now, I guess I'm stuck with being in this love-hate relationship with this iPhone. Anyways, that's it for this video. It's been a long time in the making, so thank you for all the patience and watching till the end. If you're here, make sure to leave a sunglasses emoji in the comments so I know you guys are a real one. Also, let me know if you like this type of intro for videos as I suffer through this toxic relationship with my phone.
Did you just say toxic?
No, honey, of course not.
Come over here. I need you to charge me.
But I'm filming. Of course, honey. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Your shorts. It would have been funny if I was in my underwear, but it's fine.